Donnie B, GotDaBeats.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Donnie B, Got the Beats. You know what time it is when you hear this voice. We live on the beat. Today's guest that I have is a woman that's very special to me, man. Like I had the opportunity of working with her. She was a blessing the entire time I worked with her. Nothing but very humble vibes, very, very cool energy, very down to earth. I loved every moment I had the opportunity to speak with this lady. And you know, I have nothing but positive affirmation to say about her. And then I found out that she was an actress. And I was like, oh wow, okay, that's crazy, you know. And so you know, speaking with her, she was very encouraging about you know, my talents and things that I had to you know, present to offer the world. And you know, with this platform, as with anything else, you know, I try to showcase and spotlight the best, and she definitely fits the category. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to character actress, spiritual life coach, Mary Cavaliere. How you doing?
Hi, Donnie. It's so nice to see you. Up close and personal.
Indeed. So, Mary, how you doing these days, man? How have you been?
You know, I'm hanging in there like everybody else. It's hard. You know, I'm in a high risk category for COVID, so I am isolated a lot, but I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay.
Good. Well, you need to be doing okay because you're like a national treasure. We need to take care of you. Make sure you
straight. You're so sweet.
So, how's everything been with you since what the last time I see you at the endowment, right?
Right. I actually retired this year. I gave my notice in April. And because I have a pension that I get from another job that I had for like 20-something years, I was able to collect my Social Security early. And so that provides income for me, and it doesn't put pressure on me to make money as an actor. Of course, that's what I want to do, but I haven't been as affected by COVID as other actors have, because I have a steady income that pays my rent and buys my food and pays for my car, et cetera, et cetera. Anything I make as an actor is kind of my extra money. So I don't have to be picky about what I do, but I am picky about what I do, just because I'm trying to get to the next level.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's better for your craft too, for you to be able to pick and choose exactly what you want.
Exactly. Well, you know, there's a lot of lessons in this industry, and when you're first starting out as actors, non-union actors are really taken advantage of a lot. And I finally just had to say, okay, that's it. No more of this stuff. And if that means I work less, that's fine. But at least I'm working on stuff that's going to bring me to the next level, or something that I really, really enjoy. You know what I mean? Like I'll do a short film, I'll do a feature film that's only going to pay me $100 for the day, because I might get a good clip, you know, for a reel that will bring me more work somewhere else. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and even in commercials, you know, they take advantage. You know, they pay you a ridiculous amount of money. I remember I booked a gig with a gaming company, and they're like the top 2 gaming company in the world. Okay. And I booked doing like reaction shots, you know, as you're playing a game and what have you. And when they sent me the contract, they were already not paying me a lot, but I thought, oh, this will take me 10, 15 minutes to do. You know, I'll do it for $50 or $75, whatever it is.
Right.
And when I got the contract, all the stuff that was involved in it, well, you know, we get to ask you to retake it as many times as we want till, you know, and instead of it only being 1 or 2 or 3 clips, it was like 12 clips. And I was like, no.
Right.
sorry, unless you're going to pay me more money, I'm not going to do it. Because that is not something that's going to progress my acting career.
Right.
And neither do commercials. Those do not push your acting career forward. That work is not on your reel. So casting directors don't see it. Not even casting directors that do commercials see it. So it's really simply for the money and to help your agent. That's how agents make a lot of their money.
Those are very interesting points. I definitely will. I want to talk about that with specificity later on in the interview.
Okay.
But first, I'm going to take it back. Who is Mary? Like, how did you get from point A to where you are now? This beautiful woman I'm in front of right now.
Oh, it has been a long, hard row. Like the person that you know is certainly not the person I was when I was young. Mm-hmm. And probably I started to transform in my 30s, mainly because I had a spiritual awakening of sorts.
Okay.
And I have looked at life from that point forward. I've always looked at life as learning, and not just learning about how do you become an actor, but learning about yourself, being self-aware, becoming self-empowered, learning how to love yourself, all of those things that make life so much richer and so much better. And I thank God I went from being an atheist to becoming extremely spiritual. Everything I do has a spiritual element to it, and including my art. So yeah, it's been a long, hard road. Long, hard road, but I'm really a happy person, happier than I've ever been in my life. And I just think people shouldn't knock God, because he, she, it exists in my book. And even if they didn't, if you believe in this and it's something that gives you comfort and it's something that helps you along in your journey with the struggles that come in everybody's life, then it's worth it. Right. I don't feel the need to prove that it's true. I know it's helped me. I know it's helped others, and I've helped others with what I teach. So why would you want to negate it?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Of course. It's interesting that you said that too, the awareness word specifically. Because that's when I talk to a lot of friends and associates of mine now, I kind of refer kind of in a Terminator-esque type of way. It's like, I came online like 2 years ago, I was always kind of aware. I had this awareness that I always felt like I should be more than what I am or what I was at the time. But I really came online. I became self-aware like 2 years ago. And it was just like, it woke up and it was like, you know what, I could be doing this and I need to be doing this. And that's a very interesting parallel in how you put it, because to me that's when you said that's what woke up in me, that thought right there specifically.
Right. And COVID has also served that purpose as well. Mm-hmm. And a lot of spiritual teachers will talk about this, but basically it has allowed people to go inward and to really look at their lives and say, what am I doing? Because I used to work like a dog. I mean, like a dog when I was in IT, as well as when I worked at the endowment. It was just to the grind all the time. And it was killing me, physically killing me, which is why I decided to retire early. And so as people turn within, they realize maybe I need to look at what I really love to do. What's my passion? Right. Whether that be becoming a teacher or becoming an actor, it doesn't matter. But you kind of have to. This has pushed people into following their bliss. And that's going to make a happier place, a happier world if more people could do that, because so many people are angry and miserable, and work can do that to you if you don't love it. And I spent a lot of years doing jobs that I did not enjoy. I did them because I was smart and I could, and I made a lot of money, but I never loved any of those jobs. Never. Not one.
Right.
Not one.
Would you say that you didn't have the ability to like kind of feed your soul, or is it more of a you just didn't like the atmosphere or the environment?
Exactly. And when I first moved out to California, I left a big company that I had worked for, and I was a manager. I was an IT manager. I was making a lot of money, but the money, the more you have, the more you spend.
Right.
So I just wanted a simpler life, and I didn't want to be working 60 hours a week and not spending time with my kids and that sort of thing. And I decided to take a step backwards. Like when you met me, I was an executive assistant, and I made that choice to take that huge cut in pay, because being an executive assistant or being a secretary is easy for me. That's not hard work for me. I'm very organized naturally, and I'm very self-confident and very good at what I do. So I could do it with my eyes closed. And I never worked for anybody that didn't love me. You know what I mean? And love the work that I brought to the table.
Right.
So
I was actually about to say, it's funny because the way you operated, it seemed like it was effortless, like you did it with your eyes closed, because you were just so awesome at it. You always had the answers, man. So
yeah, the frustration is working with people that aren't at that same level.
You can say that 2 times.
Oh my gosh.
Say it louder for people in the back.
I'd be like, really? This is like common sense stuff, But again, I spent many years, I spent 12 or 15 years in IT. So, even though I wasn't educated back then, I had a career in IT without an education. I didn't get my college education until after I got out of IT, which is really interesting. And my degree is in spiritual psychology. Again, something that I'm passionate about. It's not just my art. Spirituality is something that's extremely important to me.
Awesome.
So
yeah, we'll definitely we'll touch on that as well.
Okay.
Growing up. Yeah, we're like, share with us where you're from and what it was like for you growing up.
I grew up in a little town called Windsor, Connecticut, back in the 50s. It was a mixed neighborhood, which was kind of not common for growing up in the 50s. I remember segregation. So I had a lot of Black friends, still do, but I had a lot of Black friends, and my parents didn't teach us racism, and I didn't learn what other people were learning from their parents. And so when I look at what's going on today, it just befuddles me, because I thought, I've been living that way all of my life.
Right.
And I also spent a year in Virginia when I first got married. But I only lasted a year there because it was like 1978, and the racism was awful. And yeah, it still is, probably compared to California, right?
Right.
But I couldn't stand it. And I said to my husband was from the South, and he said, I'm never going to live above the Mason-Dixon line. And I said, well, I'm not staying here. I can't stay here. Again, spoke to my soul. I just can't be here. So I ended up moving back to Connecticut. And then before I moved to California, I did live in Massachusetts for 15 years. That was because of my second marriage.
Okay.
But yeah, cold, snow, hot, humid summers. The weather is never good. I don't care about the 4 seasons. Give me sunshine.
You took a page right out of my book, which is why I'm in LA myself.
I have no desire to go back.
Yeah.
Unless somebody in New York wants to give me a series regular, then I'm to New York. I'll be there. That's the only thing that could take me back into snow.
Totally understood. You hear that, Tribeca? You need to get Barry on the phone. Hey, get her on the phone, man.
Oh, I have a good Tribeca story for you. Well, when we get into how I became an actor, I'll expand on that.
Got it. Now, outside of Hartford, right, in Connecticut, what was the dynamic being that? Because again, just being open and being just straightforward, and I love your energy and how you've always been very straightforward. But speaking specifically on the energy when you were growing up, like you said, you grew up in a mixed neighborhood, and it's a lot of times we as Black people, we don't have the voice to be able to speak exactly what's going on.
Right.
At least for masses to be able to hear it and have an understanding of it, right? But for you were kind of in the front lines with us. You know what I mean? So
yep.
What's your thoughts and your experiences? I'm sure we're going to touch on that a little bit later, because I definitely want to talk about how you feel about today's events. But do you have something topical that you could say with regard to that?
Yeah, I just want to say that racism is taught. Bottom line, It's taught, and it just goes from generation to generation to generation. And at some point, there has to be a generation that kind of stops that. My children were not taught about race the way, the way people talk about it today. We didn't talk about it because one of the reasons I even moved to California was I wanted my daughter to be exposed to diversity. Because Massachusetts is very, very white, so to speak. But it's frustrating for me because, like I said, as a kid, I grew up this way, and it didn't seem odd to me, although I did see people leaving our neighborhood as more Black people moved in. Some white people moved to a different part of town because they didn't want to be exposed to Black people. But my father was really key when it came to this. And the reason I say that is there were 2 or 3 women on our street. They were Black, and they were widowed. Their husbands were no longer with them. And my father would say, when it would snow, my father would say, get your shovels, get up to Mrs. Washington's house, shovel her driveway out, shovel her sidewalk so she can get out and go to work, go over to Gerda's house and bring her some fruit, because my father had like 12 fruit trees. We were poor. Believe me, we were poor. We didn't have money, but we had a lot of fruit and vegetables that my father grew. And he would fill up, big cartons and say, bring this over to Gerda, bring this to Mrs. Washington, bring this to so-and-so. And so we were taught that these were human beings, human beings that maybe needed help. And as unfortunate as we were, my father was always there to help somebody else who was even less fortunate. And in that case, it happened to be the Black families in our neighborhood. So again, I just wasn't brought up that way. So I never had a racist thought in my head. And that when I see what's going on now, it's extremely upsetting. But my daughter is a millennial, got a big voice, just like her mama. And she uses it a lot, because she has no tolerance for racism whatsoever. Again, that's not how she was raised.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So shame on all you parents.
Yeah. But thank you for sharing. That actually means a lot, man. Especially in light of all the stuff that happened in 2020. It's good to know, you know what I mean? And let's be clear, and then we can get back to this interview. Let's be clear, for the purposes of being straightforward, right? It's always people speak in generalities, right? And so it's always, white people, so forth. So, but it's not all white people. Just like all, women, so forth, or men are dogs. And it's like, it's not all men. You know what I mean? And I think we need to learn to stop speaking in generalities like that and understand that not everybody is like, Black, like Blue Lives Matter. Like, yeah, it's not every cop. You know what I mean? And I want to say the bad apples, but it is some people that just don't deserve to wear the badge, just like there are some people that just don't deserve to.
And yeah, because you know what? It's not when it comes to blue lives, which I totally respect, and I certainly respect people that have served in our military. But I know women that had policemen for husbands, and they would always be beaten up. They're not all good people, and so that's something that needs to be taken care of. We need to be a little bit more choosy about who we have in those roles going forward. And hopefully all of the negativity that we're seeing happening right now, from a spiritual perspective, will help to enlighten everybody about where we are and where we need to get to.
Yeah, you said it exactly the way it needs to be said. Absolutely.
Yeah, when the Democratic primary came up, I didn't vote in it. We won't even get into why I didn't vote in it, but mainly because I've been an independent most of my life. But I was registered Democrat, so I could vote in the Democratic primary. And because I was exposed to Kamala Harris in the very first job that I had in California, I've always admired her. And so I really wanted her to win the nomination. And I was disappointed at first that Joe Biden got it, but I was ecstatic when he chose her as his running mate. And I will guarantee you, mark my words right now, that in 2028, she will be our president.
Okay. Okay. Hey, listen. I like the way you put your words together.
I see it happening. I see it happening.
Awesome.
Yeah. And and you know what? She's going to be an awesome vice president. She's going to kick some, you know what? And that's exactly what we need. And she will help to make the difference, combined with Joe Biden, who obviously has always cared about people of color. So I think the administration is going to do some good things.
All right. We want to talk. I want to throw a pin in that too, because we'll come back to that a little bit later on.
Okay.
But back to you and you know, your talent and your drive in the entertainment industry. What is a character actress? Can you define that for people that, you know, have no clue? Because I mean, most people know actors and actresses. I mean, and then there's this whole new nuance where, you know, women are, you know, actors being everyone, you know, unisex. It's just we're actors. You know what I mean? Can you speak about?
Yeah, a character actress basically is someone that is never going to play the ingenue. They're never going to be. Well, they might be a leading lady in a film, but not in a romantic comedy per se. So basically, a character actor is not usually someone that has an enormous amount of beauty. So it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter how much you weigh. It doesn't even matter if you're kind of quirky or different. The more different you are, the better. Okay. So you play roles of people that just are not the norm usually. So like, for example, I just did an audition last week for what was called a weird janitor. And it was a role for a man or a woman. And I did my best playing. She kind of had a tick, you know, so she had this, you know, jerky thing that happened to her while she was talking. But so yeah, those are the kind of roles that a character actor would play. And what's wonderful, what people don't realize about a character actor that's wonderful is you are the type that works until you die. So you could be 95 and you're going to still be out there working if you want to be working. Kind of like, you know, Doris Roberts did and people like that. When you play an ingenue and you're being cast because of the way that you look, in addition to your talent, you might only have a certain lifespan. And that's why all these women do all these things to their face that they shouldn't do. You know, I always say they all need to be a little bit more like Meryl Streep. Let yourself age gracefully. If you are talented, you're going to work. Because Meryl Streep, let's face it, she can do anything.
She's brilliant.
Yeah. She can be the beautiful ingenue, but she can also be the character actor.
Right.
And yeah, she'll be acting until the day she dies, and will probably has many more awards to come. So she's it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
A good character actress would be Lily Tomlin or Kathy Bates.
Mm-hmm.
These are really phenomenal character actors that also come home with awards at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Kathy Bates, I love her. I love her work. I mean, she's fiery. I love it.
Yes, she is. And you know, she's such a sweet person in real life. I went to a taping of Mike and Molly a few years back, and she was the guest star. And of course, you get to talk to all of the people, all the actors after the show. They come up to the fence or whatever it is there, and they talk to you over the fence. And she's really a very, very sweet person, but she always plays, you know, these roles that are pretty tough and sometimes crazy. And she does a great job at it. Rosie O'Donnell is another one people really underestimate, but she is a really good character actress. Really is. So, and Kathy Bates has always been kind of my inspiration, saying that's, if I could choose a career, that's the career that I would want.
Okay. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And I can see the connection.
Yes.
And I don't even mean physically. It's just like the energy. I can feel it.
I can do either. When we talk a little bit more about my background and training, you know, I'm one of those actors that can do both drama and comedy, and not everybody can do that. So yeah, I could play the crazy person as well as playing, you know, the sweet grandma in a sitcom. You know what I mean? I'd rather play the negative character. I'd rather play, I don't know, can I swear?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd rather play the bitch. I'd rather play the bitch, the hard ass. Those for me are much more fun to play. And if I had to kind of pigeonhole myself into something, that's what it would be.
It's something about antagonists being on the antagonistic side of it, and just causing anarchy and chaos, and just kind of just being something possibly that 100% left of who you are.
Exactly. I mean, I would shave my head. I once had a guy. He cast me as a prison guard in his film, which never ended up getting made. But I was willing to shave my head, and he was like, "Really, you would do that?" And I'm like, "Absolutely. Why wouldn't I? Could you see me bald? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
As a prison guard."
Yeah, and I could see you killing it. They're killing the role too. Like, yeah, definitely.
Exactly. So yeah, I like the category that I'm in, especially since I've really started so late. I hope to be working till the day I die, but we'll see. See how that goes.
We're gonna speak in the affirmative.
Exactly.
So, what are some common misconceptions of in the acting field, or being a character actor or actress? So, like, what are common misconceptions that you'd like to clear up?
Okay. Well, a lot of people think, and I see this a lot too when I do casting director workshops, and there are people tuning in from all over the country, that have maybe done a little bit of theater, or some that have no experience at all, and they think they want to be an actor. Okay. And what they don't realize is that it's not as easy as it looks. And only about 1%, believe this is still the stat, only about 1% of all actors become famous. So if somebody decides they want to do this, if it's about fame and money, just turn around and run in the other direction, because very few people get to that point. If you're doing it for the love of the art form, and your soul is being fulfilled in doing the art, that's a reason to do it, and not have the money attached to it, kind of thing. So 1% of all actors become famous. I had a casting director posted something a couple of weeks ago about how many people submitted for one role. It was 9,983 people. So even getting the audition is a big, big deal. Getting a callback is like winning the lottery. And maybe getting the role is like winning the lottery. People don't realize, even though you might be talented, you are constantly overlooked, constantly. So you have to come into this for the right reason, or you're going to be extremely disappointed. It's why they always used to say the lifespan of an actor in LA was 90 days, because people come here and, by the busload, thinking they're going to be famous, and they realize after 3 months and they haven't done anything significant, I guess I'm not going to be famous, and they go back to wherever they came from. It's just, this is a long-term job with very little reward other than the work itself.
Really quick to kind of go off script a bit with this. And this is where I think I want to tie in that you're the spiritual life coach, Cavaliere. Would you say that the mental health aspect of what you just said could help to perpetuate some sort of toxic type of atmosphere with people, with the belief of coming in, I want to be an actor, and so forth and so on, and like you say, going through the ringer for 90 days, only to have to go back to where they came from, probably defeated, dejected, so forth and so on. Would you say the mental health has a big part to play in this, or
Yes, I do. In fact, I think sometimes the mental health of the individual is what drives them to want to be an actor to begin with. And I'm no exception. I became an actor when I was 16, and I was a kid who didn't get much attention. I was like the seventh child, and nobody even knew I existed. I was kind of invisible. And so the first time that I was on stage and heard that applause, obviously I was hooked. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of people want that validation. Now, and ever since I started my spiritual journey, it stopped being about validation for me a long, long time ago. And it just became about the art form. And the reason I know that is because when I'm sitting and watching an actor do their work, whether I'm watching a television show or a film, or I'm watching somebody on stage and they are doing brilliant, brilliant work, I am so moved and so excited and so elated. It's like it just changes my brain chemistry. It brings me so much joy to watch someone else act that I know it's about the art form for me at this point in my life. And I could very easily, if someone gave me the opportunity, slide over into a casting director position and be just as happy, because I would still be involved in that art form, even if I wasn't physically doing it. And but that road is just as hard as being an actor, as far as getting to the point where you're, casting things like Breaking Bad and shows like that. You know what I'm saying? But I know that I've changed since I first became an actor, and my feet are on the ground, and I have a very realistic view about what I'm going to do.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that. That's it felt like there was a connection there. And I just wanted to see if that's what you thought. So.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And there still is. And that is also too, Donnie, why people do become famous, but then they end up committing suicide, or they end up really getting involved in alcohol or drugs, because what they find is that's not enough. It's not enough for them to be an actor and be famous. That brings all this other stuff into play that causes them discomfort, and they end up, being depressed, and they end up being unhappy, even though it looks from the outside that they have everything they could ever want, because they started as a fractured person. And I can also tell you too that some of the best actors are the most fractured.
Yeah.
They bring that emotional element into their work. They bring that baggage into their work.
And when you said that, it made me think immediately, and no negative inference toward Robin Williams, but just like he was extremely talented, and some of his electric work was later when he played not the non-comedian role. You could see the pain on him, and it just
he was a genius. He really was a genius. But you're right, he had some serious issues psychologically that took over. When he got sick, he really couldn't handle it. He really couldn't handle it. And it's very, very sad. It's very sad when I see this. And I wish I had more actors coming to me for spiritual help. Because, when you walk into a room, like I can walk into a room and I'm more confident about who I am as a person than who I am as an actor. And that's important. So, because it keeps your nerves at a different level. I don't get as nervous, I think, as other actors do when I walk into a room, because I know who I am and I like who I am. And if I don't book it, I don't go in thinking I got to book this. I just go in and enjoy the process. And then whatever happens, happens. I don't get attached to the result. Don't get attached to the validation, so to speak. So, yeah.
Interesting that you say that, because that's the next question. Could you describe the acting process? Well, like how do you dive into accepting the role and then becoming a personality that you're portraying, and just overall, what's the process like for you?
Well, many people have many different processes. I happen to be one of those that I don't believe in method acting, and I'm not sure if you know what that is.
Yeah.
When people go off and live as that person for 3 months, when you're dealing with a really dark character, it's a really dangerous thing for you to do psychologically. It's and so I don't believe in using that method. For me, what I learned was about being in the moment. In the moment. And if you are in the moment and really there and you're not in your head, then you will do great work. And recently I heard an interview with the girl on, oh God, I can't think of the name of the show now. It's a Netflix show. Julia something is her name. She's an extraordinary actor. And what she said in an interview was, if I do the take over and over again and I remember it, then she knows she wasn't where she needed to be. Like, in other words, if she was consciously aware of what she said in that take, she knows it's not a good enough take. And she will ask if she can do it again so that she can completely let go of any of her own personal thoughts and be so involved in the character that that's what comes through. And, you know, and I've had those moments. And I did something not that long ago. It was a little mini monologue I did for part of a contest. And I was so involved in it that I almost passed out at the end of it because I was so engrossed in it. And the acting teacher who kind of put out this contest told me it was great work. And I knew it was because I didn't feel like I was me. It's like somebody else inhabited my body. So you can't do that unless you stay in the moment. And so you have to do your preparation. Obviously, you have to figure out who that character is, where they're coming from, what they want in the scene, what's the moment before, you know, the scene starts. So you're not starting after the camera starts, you're starting before the camera starts. Right. But you have to live in the body and the soul of that individual you are representing at that moment in time. And if you can do that, you'll produce organic, authentic, realistic characters.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
That's not for everybody. Like I said, everybody has a different process. So that's just mine.
No, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
With all of that, because again, you know, I've tracked your work and like I've even asked you for advice as far as by way of acting and so forth and so on. And you have a great wealth of knowledge and experience. Could you talk about how you actually got into the entertainment industry, acting wise? Okay,
well, this is a little bit of a long story, but I'll try to make it brief.
Okay.
I was 16 years old when I saw my first Broadway show. And at that time in my life, my dream was to be a singer. I really wanted to be the next Barbra Streisand. And no matter how many vocal coaches I had later in life, it never happened. But I had an English teacher who also happened to be the theater director at my high school. And he said to me, why don't you come out for a play? And I was like, ugh, I'm petrified. I don't want to sing in front of anybody. And he was like, doesn't matter. Even if you're bad, you'll get in the show because everybody gets in. You'll be in the chorus. Okay. So my very first play was when I was 16 years old. It was the musical version of Miracle on 34th Street. I played a parade clown. Okay. And then I had a typing teacher in high school, and he ran a community theater, you know, for adults. And he kind of pulled me in and said, come out and audition for Carnival, which was a musical that they were doing. And I auditioned for that and got in and got to be with all these adults. And, you know, there's nothing like theater and the camaraderie that you build in theater. So for the next 15 years, I did it non-professionally. And I worked my way up from chorus to having a few lines, to having a supporting role, to having leading roles. So I've done Mother Abbess in Sound of Music. I've done Sarah Brown in Guys and Dolls. I've done one of the Pink Ladies, Jan, in Grease. I did the female version of The Odd Couple, played Olive, which is the female version of Oscar, one of the best shows I ever have done and the best reviews I've ever gotten. I was in Massachusetts at that time. So I did it for 15 years. And in spite of my career, you know, I had an IT career at the time and I just did it part-time. And then when I was 25, I had my first son, my first child, my son, and I was home for 6 weeks recuperating after the birth. And I'm watching television and I'm like, God, these actors are so bad. And I'm thinking, why don't I do this? Why can't I do this? And at the time, I was working 3 days a week, 12 hours a day. So every week I had 4 days off, plus a lot of vacation time. So I used to haul into New York City once or twice a week from Connecticut and started studying. And I studied with a man by the name of Gene Frankel. Gene was well known for creating Black theater in New York City, back when no one had ever heard of it before. He launched the careers of actors like James Earl Jones and, rest in peace, Cicely Tyson. These were all people that he got up and running, and many others. And so I went to Gene and I had to audition, and he also interviewed to ask you why you were becoming an actor. He said, do you think a limousine's going to pull up at your house on Monday and pick you up? You know, he wanted to be clear that the people that were there to study, not to become famous. Okay. And I just loved him and adored him. I studied with him for many years. And one of the things he left me with before he passed away was, he said, Mary, you have the gift of comedic timing, and not everybody has that. And so you are one of the few that can do both dramatic roles as well as comedy. Don't ever forget that, which I never have. This was back in the 90s. I was studying with him. Then I also studied with a woman by the name of Maria Greco, and she taught me how to work in front of a camera. Then what happened was I got in New York back in the day. I don't know if it's this way in New York now, but back then, managers and agents didn't have exclusivity. So I had 6 agents working on my behalf. One was a print agent, one was a commercial agent, one was a theatrical agent. And I started doing work. I did a few feature films. I did some off Broadway shows. And I was happier than a pig in shit, really. So, and one of my most memorable moments was I was performing at this Circle in the Square theater in New York. And in that theater, there's walls, and all the actors that perform there sign the wall. And I remember I was sitting and putting my makeup on, and the wall behind me, and I turned around, and Alec Baldwin had signed his name, and he was already famous by then. And I was like so excited to be performing in a place that he had once performed in himself. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a lot of television. I did want to do television, but at that time, there were only 2 shows in New York, The Cosby Show and Law and Order. Mm-hmm. I did background work on Law and Order. I was a juror or whatever, but I really wanted to do television. And so there were auditions for television, but if you were booked, obviously, you had to move out to California, and I was okay with that. And at first, my husband was too. But at some point, he changed his mind, and he came to me one day and gave me an ultimatum and said, it's me or showbiz. And, you know, I had children. I had 1 child at the time. And so I gave it up. Now, here's my most regrettable moment in my life. After I gave it up, about a week or 2 later, I got a phone call. It was from Robert De Niro's production company. And Robert De Niro was going to be directing this pilot as well as acting in it. And he was producing it, which, you know, he has Tribeca Film Company, produces a lot of stuff. And they wanted me to audition for the role of a wife. I don't know if it was going to be the wife opposite him or someone else. It didn't matter. It was Robert freaking De Niro. And I had to decline it. And I cried literally for 2 weeks. And here I am, you know, 40-something years later, I'm still crying about it. And I hope someday I get to meet him, you know. But that was the worst possible moment of my life and the biggest mistake of my life. Because 2 years later, I ended up divorcing that man. But I had a baby unexpectedly at 40 with him. And so I couldn't go back to it because I had a small child. Right. So for the next 12 years, I didn't do anything. I moved to California in 2004, up in San Francisco in the Bay Area, and I was broke. It's very expensive to live here, and I was a secretary at this point in time. I was no longer in IT, couldn't compete with Silicon Valley people. Right. And there were times where I didn't have enough money to put gas in my car to get to work, and my daughter and I ate pasta all week. I thought, I gotta make an income. So I was on Craigslist looking at jobs, and I saw there's an area in there where there's some acting gigs in there. And I went, well, I'm a trained actor. I should be able to do this. And that's when I got involved again. I didn't have any money. I went to Walmart, had a $10 headshot taken, and started getting out there and did a few films, did some pilots, whatever, commercials, documentaries. And that bug, of course, bit me all over again. And my daughter was still small, but I ended up working for a company where I had a lot of time off. And so from that point until the time I got to LA, I had been working as an actor part-time, meaning I would use my vacation time for auditions and to work. So I didn't get to do as much as I would love to do, but I've done it for the past 8 years in LA part-time. This year, I retired and became a full-time actor, finally. It's not too late yet. I'm only 64.
You still got a lot of time.
Yes, I've paid my dues, haven't I?
Okay.
So,
yeah, I mean, it's an impressive story. I'm glad I was able to help you share it, because I mean this is the type of stuff that we like to uncover. Because a lot of people think that things are easy. You look at music videos. I work with a lot of musicians and recording artists, and all you see is the glamour and the glitch. You don't see the glue.
No. And you don't see how people have been beaten down, like Taraji P. She was told, forget it, you're never going to be an actor. Right. Hello, she's an Academy Award-winning actress. Okay, and I'm sure every actor at that level has that kind of story.
Right.
And so that's why I'm saying you have to be confident in who you are in order to make it through this journey without wanting to jump off a bridge. Right. You know what I mean? And then again, it cannot be about money and fame. If that's your end goal, you're on the wrong path, because you're going to be very, very disappointed. It's even been hard for me. But I've been dealing with COVID, since I became a full-time actor, and then COVID hit and everything shut down in the industry. But you know what? I got my agent last May, and between June and December, I booked something every single month. First thing I booked was an Amazon home commercial, and I booked something every single month. So it wasn't a lot of money, but I proved to myself that I could book. And so it's January 2021, but industry's closed again. But I booked a kitty litter commercial with my cat. My cat, this is his first gig.
Awesome.
So, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and hoping that once the industry opens back up again fully, I am SAG-AFTRA eligible. I want to join SAG, but my agent wants me to wait until I have a project that makes it worthwhile to do that. Right. And really what I want to do is book my first primetime television co-star. That's my goal for 2021. Okay.
Okay. And it shall be done.
It shall be done.
Okay. Well, so, I mean, you definitely have spoken on it, because that was actually the next question, like current projects. You've already kind of laid that out, which is awesome. And congratulations to your cat.
Yes, my little kitty Rye. He's actually, he could end up making me a lot of money, because he's a cat that's not afraid of anybody. I've never seen him hiss, bite, scratch. He does none of that. Probably has to do with his very humble beginnings, but he is the kind of cat that could probably be on a set and work. So hopefully this is his launch.
You heard it first live on the beat,
I did audition with him once. For once. And actually it was for a film that was being produced by Anthony Russo. I don't know if you know who that is, but yeah, he's a big producer. And was a woman sitting on a park bench with a cat talking to the leading role. The name of the film is called Cherry. And what was interesting was that role was already cast. If you went out to IMDb, that role was already cast. But I think they were either going to reshoot it or recast it. I'm not really sure. But I got the audition, and I did the audition. And a couple of weeks later, he started following me on Instagram. And so I really thought I had the part. I thought, oh my God, the producer's following me on Instagram. This must be a good sign. And then 2 weeks later, he unfollowed me. So I think what happened was they may have had an intention of recasting it or redoing it. And then COVID shut down everything. And they just said, let's not delay the film. So now it's coming out in 2021, and it's already been noted as being an Oscar-worthy picture.
Wow.
But again, just like my De Niro thing, it was just close, but not close enough. But at least, again, those are the little things that give you the confidence to keep going.
Right.
You know, no, I didn't book it, but I came close, so I must have something that other people might want.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I like I said, I already know what it is. That gravity. You got, and that's something I always say from back in the day. Like, you know, if there's people that I try to work with, help them get going in entertainment, it's like you have to have gravity. People got to be drawn to you in some shape, form, or fashion. If you don't have it, not saying you won't get it, but you have to understand and learn how to, you know, you got to understand the ways of the force. You know what I mean? And you definitely always had it. So
unless you have what I call the it factor.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you a little story. My daughter kind of decided she was going to be an actor for a while because I used to teach children acting, and she would go with me to those classes, and she would help me teach. And she ended up going to Oakland School for the Arts and became very good friends with Zendaya Coleman.
Nice. Wow.
And when I met Zendaya, I met her and her mother because they were doing a play, and so it was at a play rehearsal. And I saw her up on stage, and then she came down and I met her, and I said to my daughter, that girl is going to go very far. She has what we call the it factor. And it wasn't a year later, Disney scooped her up.
Yeah.
Pick it up. And the rest is history. God knows she's done everything. And now she got her first award for her Euphoria. She's
amazing. It's an amazing show.
And she's an amazing person too. You want to talk about somebody with a lot of light and a lot of love and a very evolved soul. Yeah, she's going to be around for a long, long, long time. So
I do not disagree with you.
At some point, I might become a casting director. Who knows? But at this point, I'm still going to work on my craft.
Well, the day you do, I'm going to be knocking at your door.
You don't have to knock.
You expect it. It's going to be there.
I've already seen what you can do just in a small amount. So that tells me not only what you can do, but where you could go. And you definitely have a great look. So
thank you. You know, I got to ask you too, by the way, did you happen to see my time on Wheel of Fortune? I got to ask you that.
What about it? I saw it.
You did see it? That's what I was asking.
Yes, I watched it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was very happy for you. I was rooting you on in my chair. I sat in my recliner. Come on, go, Donnie. Donnie.
I appreciate that. I just, I haven't talked to you about it. I just wanted to see what you do about it.
I did do a post on my Facebook page, but my Facebook page is just like 100 people. It's not a big page. It's just people that I know.
Okay.
You know? But I'm not on there as much as Instagram. So.
Okay. Well, look, I'm glad. I'm just humbled that you watched it, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, I did.
So we have some footage actually of you in a role with the Macaroni and Stars by Julio Vincent Gambudo.
Yes.
Did I say it right? Julio, wasn't it? Right?
Julio Vincent Gambudo. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. No, definitely something I want people to check out. It's definitely.
I think he actually, because I call him Jules. I think it's Julio because he's Italian.
Julio. Okay.
Julio. Yeah, it's very confusing, but I always called him Jules. And just to give you a little bit of background on this, and for other actors that are starting out to know that this is important, I actually did a project with him when he was in college for his thesis. That's how I met him. And because he loved me so much, and I did that, I think for basically nothing or for free, he brought me back to do this short film. And then after that, he put me in his first feature film. And now he has a production company in Staten Island, and he's got 3 films he was working on. One has already been released and been out for a while now, and I'm supposed to be in one of those 3 films at some point. So you never know who you're going to meet along the way, but those kind of situations end up being repeat work for you. If that director knows you, they know what you're going to be like on set. That makes you, a part comes up and they go, oh, Mary, Mary,
right.
Mary would be perfect for that. You know what I mean? So let it roll.
So without further ado, we have Mary Cavaliere in Macaroni and Stars. Check this out.
So What do you guys think of the loft?
Well, I looked up loft style on the internet, and they say it's very modern, Jamie.
I wanted to have something different.
You always got to be different.
I love all the different placemats. They call that diversity.
It's electric.
Eccentric.
Eclectic.
That's not what I said?
That's not what I said.
That ain't what either of you said.
It's short to the point.
Yes, it was. It was a very, and that piece is based on Julio's life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let me ask you a question. How much, I mean, and I understand you said that the process for you is a lot of putting yourself in the moment, right? And drawing, I guess, organically from the well of who that person that you're portraying is.
Right.
How connected is that to improvisation? And you know, because I know that's a whole little thing in itself where, you know, like Saturday night sketch comedy, sketch, you know, so forth and so on.
Right.
Is that kind of in line with the same thing?
Well, it is. It isn't. Improvisation will always make your work better. And I myself have booked commercials and work because the audition was improvisation based.
Okay.
So it's really an important skill to have. And yes, and sometimes even on set, it's scripted and you may do it a scripted way, but then the director may say to you, okay, let's do this. Like in one of my films, Ma, there was one section of that where we talked about it and the director was very open to, well, what would an Italian mom really do here or say here? And I would tell him, and he said, all right, I want you guys to improvise this part. Let's see what we get. Okay. And so we improvised it and it ended up in the final film, because that's even more organic than using somebody's words that were written for the character. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, definitely. I mean, it's something you should be doing as part of your process to prepare. Like when I read a line that doesn't flow for me, I want to respect the writer's words. That's really always important, especially if the writer is involved in doing the casting. But something doesn't feel natural. What I do in my mind is I improvise it in my mind. Like, what does this really mean to me? How would I say this if I was writing it?
Right.
And I just use that intonation for the line as I say it. So it comes across as organic, even though it didn't feel natural to me personally. You follow? Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. Again, you know, I'm very guarded because I want to say more, but this is all about you. You know what I mean? But
I'd love to hear what you have to say too.
Well, it's interesting. Like the fact that you said that, that's kind of, and I've never really had formal training. The last formal training I've had was in elementary school. And I did a play, and it's funny because I told my girlfriend, you know, that like I literally just seen the movie on Hulu a couple days ago, and it was a young lady that was in this movie that I shared the stage with when I was in elementary school, and we played. Wow. Yeah, I know, and it was just like, you know, I'm always good with faces, and
me
so
too. I never forget them.
Yeah, you know,
it's just, name, but I'll never forget your face.
And it was literally funny because it was Sleeping Beauty. She played the Sleeping Beauty, and I was the prince. And I just remember, and it was just it literally woke me up to, it opened me up to understand that things aren't always as peachy keen as what people think. There's always a substrata to everything, right? And so basically, she was laying there, and I don't even want to say the actress's name, but she was laying there. I went to go lean and give her a kiss. I kissed her on the cheek, like way far away from her mouth. I mean, she like, and this was like, you know, the rehearsal before the actual show,
right? And
I like fell apart. I didn't know what to do. It was just like, wow, does somebody just not like me that much? Like it was just a kiss on the cheek, and I'm like in the 4th grade, and so. Literally saw her on that show. I mean, the movie, and I was like, "Oh, I know her. I know." And I went back and I saw her, and I was like, "Yeah, that is her." And you know, and I'm saying all that to say is that outside of that training, I never really had any formal training. But what I did try to draw from, and what I do try to draw from, whenever I'm with anything, it's the same with me. Is in the moment. I want people to remember me for me. And
Right.
if I'm saying the lines, I'm saying the lines, but it needs to flow because I feel that the draw is people want to see me doing whatever it is that they're watching.
Right. Right.
And
And you can, I mean, there are people that become actors that have never had formal training. I mean, it's good to get it just so that you feel more confident and you feel more prepared when you walk into the room.
right.
Of course, with self-taping, you have an opportunity to do it, 10 times if that's what you need to do to get it the way it should be. But to make interesting choices and to make it more engaging, that's where training will help, in the long run.
Well, and even like I said, I mean, to keep it and design to keep it short. Like I definitely respect the training aspect of it, and I absolutely want to train with reputable people that have I'm not about names. I'm about your work, and so I would definitely love to train under people that have established bodies of work that are a tremendous amount of credibility, so forth and so on. But it's just something about me being I chose to act because I just like the craft of it. I like being able to put myself in a place that like I'm on the bridge of the Enterprise, and how would I be in this scenario? Or if if we were at the endowment and then somebody just came right down Alameda with a tank, what would it be like? And how would I react? I would be that guy, and I always say like in horror movies, I would be the comic relief immediately. I'm just that guy because I'm just like seriously like. It's a zombie. He's eating somebody's face and nobody sees this. Like, so that's the draw for me. It's just to be able to create. And I feel that that's my biggest thing as far as being a creative is just getting something out of nothing. As what was it? I believe it was Lennon who said, I'm an artist. You give me a tuba, I'll get you something out of it. And it's funny because I played the tuba. So I get the reference,
Lennon, quoting Lennon. I love you even more. Yeah, I want to send you something then because I just found some training that somebody is doing virtually that is inexpensive, and he is one of the best teachers in LA. And so I'm going to send you that information because for $25 a month, you could do a lot of what you're talking about. Own your own craft at home.
I would love that. Thank you very much.
I just discovered it myself, and I went, "Oh my God!" And then, if you're willing to spend more money, he'll actually give you critique of your work and all of that. But I'm just going for, let's see what the body of work is that he is suggesting we do. I did take a free Zoom with him during the pandemic, and that's when I realized how good he was. But I also know that everybody in Hollywood knows his name. And so for him offering something at such $25 a month, I'm like, okay, I'm in.
I'll be standing by for that information.
Exactly.
And I thank you for it. I appreciate it. So we actually a little bit over time, but and I want to respect your time. I know you got things to do. I'm going to try to truncate this really quick, and you
want my favorite things or my three things?
Hot topics. It's like it's like you watch my show. I love it. So
what do you want to start with?
I need to come up with a little intro for the hot topic session because I just love it anyway. What are three things that you don't know? What are three things that the world does not know about Mary Cavaliere?
Not know about me. Okay. First, most people don't know this, is that when I lived in Northern California, I dated a man who was a dead ringer for Denzel Washington.
You better get out, Mary. You better go get the Denzel.
He told me that. He said, everybody says I look like Denzel. In my head, I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then when he showed up at the door, I was floored. I'm not kidding you. I'm sure people must walk up to him all the time. Yeah. That was one. Two was at the age of 55, I took a vow of celibacy. Okay. It was a spiritual decision. Awesome. And so, yeah, most people don't know that. And the last thing would be that I almost died twice.
Wow. Okay. You got to share that now. Come on now.
This is really just when I was young, when my mother was pregnant with me, just like I had a daughter at 40, she had me at 40. Back in the 50s, that was not a good thing. Mm-hmm. And the doctor said to my dad, I can save the child or I can save the mother, but I can't save both. And of course, there were 6 kids before me. So my father said, save the mother. But I survived. And then once I survived, and this is going to be hard to believe looking at my little chubby face, but I guess I wouldn't eat. And so the doctors told my mom, if you don't get food into this baby, she's going to die. Because I was premature as it was. I was only 5 pounds or something when I was born, and I was a cesarean. So yeah, so I almost died then too. And as you can see, my mom fattened me up.
And killing it. You getting roles left and right. Man, listen.
Doesn't matter what you look like. Sometimes I'm not ugly enough for some of the stuff I apply for.
Indeed. And you know what's funny? I'm gonna share that we got that preemie love because I'm a preemie too.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I was way before my time. And I was 4 pounds.
What sign are you?
Sagittarius.
Sagittarius. Okay.
But 4 pounds 4 ounces. So I was
Wow.
Yeah, it's an itty bitty baby.
Wow.
You know, so now so I feel you with the, you know what I'm saying, came through.
Awesome.
So
What else do you need to know?
I'm sorry.
I said, what else do you need to know?
Cool. Yeah, 30. So you made it through 3 things. Netflix, what did you like? What do you want to shout out as something that you're currently watching on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, either show or movies? Like, just what do you got?
I don't watch as many movies as I probably should, mainly because I don't watch films because of the premise. I watch films because of who's in it. That's what pulls me in. If it's got the right actor, there are certain actors, if they're in it, I'm going to watch it.
Okay.
Okay. But television, I love television. I'm very addicted to it. Anything that Shonda Rhimes does, I'm into. So Grey's Anatomy is still one of my favorites. And Station 19, which I absolutely love, which is a spinoff of Grey's Anatomy. I love 911. I love A Million Little Things. Those are the kinds of things that I like. I don't like anything that's really dark or too violent. The spiritual side of me can't handle that kind of stuff. And I also feel that kind of stuff in film as well as television has contributed to people desensitizing violence and it becoming part of normal behavior now. When I look around, I see the verbal abuse and the physical abuse, and people wanting to kill other people. It's like, really? But I do feel that we've been desensitized through art. And so I wish there was less of that kind of stuff. But those are the big blockbusters,
right?
Which I don't care much about. And then I love live theater. I don't care what it is. I'll go see it. If it's a straight comedy or a drama, I'll go see it. And if it's a musical, I'm definitely there. Definitely there.
Real quick topic, like off-topic question. Because you have a love for theater, and because you're so well invested and have enough, have more than enough time spent in the field with regard to entertainment industry, Tyler Perry Studios went online, just shortly ago, and they have filmed series like shows in like, I don't know, something crazy. Like it wasn't even like a week. And they filmed like a whole season of shows in like a week or maybe 2 or 3 days. Like, do you feel that is that like the future of the entertainment industry? Do you even feel that that's something?
I kind of hope that from a Broadway perspective that it is like what happened with why can't I think of the name of it now? It's the political one by Manuel Lin Miranda. What's the name of it? I can't think of it. Okay. It's a historical hip hop. It was a hip hop Broadway musical for many years on Broadway. And when COVID hit, I think even before COVID hit, they recorded it live on stage. They didn't do it as a movie like sometimes like they did Cats. It's not a movie. They filmed the Broadway production, and on the Disney Channel you could rent it for $19.95. Which I did. And so it was like sitting in the front row of a theater. Nobody around you with their cell phones, nobody crackling any paper. I got to watch them up close because you not only got to see the whole thing, but then they also would zoom in, on the characters that were speaking. So to be able to watch this musical from the comfort of my home, I thought, oh my God, I hope this sets a precedent for Broadway in the future, because I haven't been to, well, I went to Broadway a couple of years ago. I went to see a Chaz Palminteri musical. But I mean, when I was a kid or when I was young and really fell in love with it, I used to go every year, several times a year. And when I was an actor in New York, I would buy standing room only tickets and stand at the back of the theater and watch a whole production for $15. You know what I mean?
Right.
So being able to see what other people are seeing on the East Coast on my television screen, I would have paid $50 for that, to see that show. So I hope it is the way of the future. And Tyler Perry, oh my God, I'm such a huge fan of Tyler Perry, and I got to see him perform in Oakland when I was working, and my daughter was at Oakland School for the Arts. When his mom passed away, he wrote a play for her, and he took that was the last play he took on the road, and he was playing Medea, and it was just phenomenal to see him up close and personal. And I hope someday I could work with him, but you know, his studio's there, not here. So the likelihood of that is slim.
I'm sure that we'll figure it out. We need to get Operation Get Married with Tyler
him or something like that. Yeah, just love him to death. Love him to death.
All right, we got to facilitate that. Make that happen.
Exactly. So.
Well, thank you. You got through the hot topics again. We're trying to, in the interest of time, try to truncate things. I had a whole question about
the State of the Union.
COVID-19, but I wanted to talk about the State of the Union.
State of the Union. Well, I think we're in the middle of a freaking mess, and I'm thoroughly disgusted with what's going on in our country right now. But from a spiritual perspective, because of the studies that I've done myself and research that I've done, I know that everything that's happening right now is happening for a reason. So even when Donald Trump first got elected, back in 2016. I was very distraught because I really thought Hillary was going to win. And when she didn't, you know, I consulted with my spiritual advisor. And what he said to me was, everything that's happening is happening for a reason. So what he did for us on the positive side is expose the underbelly of America, okay? And to show us clearly that racism still exists way more than even I thought it did. You know, granted, I'm kind of in a little bit of a bubble here in California, but I had no idea that it was as bad as it is. Right. And so we have to be a little bit grateful for what happened. And so we're bringing in Biden, and what I see happening is between Biden and Harris, people are going to get to see that we have somebody in office that cares about people of color, and hopefully start to make a change in this country. And all of these white supremacists, you know, when I was a minister and I had my own little church back east, I did a whole sermon on all of the hate groups. And at that time, there were 7,000 hate groups in the United States. 7,000, right?
That's a bigger number.
It is a big number, and I'm sure it's grown.
Yeah.
Or at least 5,000 of them are probably still very active, and we need to take action to eliminate these groups. It shouldn't be lawful that they're allowed to do this. I'm sorry, but there comes a certain point in time where freedom of speech is destructive. And so just like inciting the violence that happened at the Capitol, that's not okay, and people need to be held accountable. Until we get a generation that starts to shift, you know, perception and shift the way people think. So 20 years from now will be very, very different. Just like what I experienced in the 50s is very different to what we see today.
Do you feel that the emergence of the Patriot Party, or the beginning of the Patriot Party, do you feel it will springboard into something greater, or no? When
you speak of the Patriot Party, what are you speaking of specifically?
Well, so that was the rhetoric is that Trump is he's creating a third or a fourth party to the infrastructure, whereas, you know, Dems, Repubs, the Independent, and now the Patriot Party for the, you know, I don't want to call them extremists, but people that are like Trump.
They are. they're really just the Tea Party. You know, they're just getting a different label now, but that's where it started. It started with the Tea Party, and that's where a lot of the hate and the division began. And so I don't see a future for that. I just feel it's being exposed so it can transform. I don't think this country is ever going to allow that to be the norm. And I think a lot of the people that are still standing right next to Trump and supporting him, I don't think they're necessarily going to win their elections in 2022. I think you're going to see more. And if we've learned anything, and I hope that Black people have learned, that their vote matters. They're the ones who put Biden and Harris in office, and they have to come out in droves for every single election. And even if we're talking about Congress, you know, senators and what have you, they have to be there for the rest of the country because they're the ones who are going to make the difference. And their vote counts big time, big time. So save us, please.
I was literally about to say, you know, it's funny because as much as we can talk about so many other things, I think I'll leave it at that note. I think you really left it exactly where it needs to be left. I do want to ask one more question of your time. For anybody that's aspiring to be in the entertainment field, and I believe there's a lot of carryover to no matter what field that you want to be in or achieve what level of success that you admire or want to aspire to, do you have any advice for aspiring talent?
Yes. Study, study, study. Do plays, do student films, do short films, do low budget independent films. Get a body of work together before you really start promoting yourself to bigger hitters. Because you don't really want to damage yourself in the beginning when you're not that experienced. Get experience. There's no such thing as overnight success. And that's with any job. With any job, you know, whether you're talking about IT or you're talking about being an actor, you got to pay your dues. You have to work hard, and you have to work on your confidence and do it. Just do it, and do it for the love of it. Do what you love. Bottom line, do what you love.
These words, you know what I'm saying? Like I worked with her every day, everybody. Like, this is awesome. Like, this is what the nuggets I used to get. You know what I mean?
I don't think we ever had a short conversation at work, right?
No.
We did. We'd always be in the hall for a while.
Yeah. Just chat, you know what I mean? Like, but it's to talk about it. But that's the thing. Like I said, that's why I got so much respect for you. It's just like, you know, people can say about whatever you want to say, but until you get to know a person and how they truly feel and how they, you know, what their true thoughts are and insights are. I mean, and just for efforts of speaking directly to you, it's like, yeah, you could have really easily looked at me as just, oh, he's just a black guy, he's a black kid, you know. And so many people do or did just look at me from that and didn't even really take the time to get to know me as a person or what I, you know, what kind of potential I had. And just so that's what spawned those kind of long conversations. Is just, you know, I'm an inquisitive person. Like, I want to be better. I have 3 kids that I want to mold them for them to be the best versions of me as well as them. And, you know, so, you know, to have the kind of, I glean information from people who have lived, you know what I mean? And you I never once felt judged. I not once felt like, you know, or, you know, we get in the elevator, you got to clutch your purse, like, hold it, you know what I mean? Like, but it's
God help the person that does that in front of me.
You know, but as I always say though, and I experienced some at the endowment, but not a lot. But you know, in all walks of life, you know that, and I've always said it's like, you know, nobody understands what it's like to be black, especially black man, when you walk down the street and understand, you know, get the feeling of divisiveness or the feeling like, you know, oh, well, you was just looking up, but when you get like, I don't know, 10 yards in front of me, now all of a sudden everything over that side of the room is more important than me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, it comes with a lot. There's a lot of baggage with it, but I never felt that with you. And again, like I said, it's not nothing else.
Nobody ever will. Like I said, I don't know. I think I was black in a previous life. Sometimes I wish I was black. So, you know what I mean? It's like, I just love my black brothers and sisters. I really do. And I am very distraught at what I see, but I also feel like change is coming. And unfortunately, people had to give their lives for that to happen, but it wasn't in vain. And everything people like John Lewis and Martin Luther King did, none of it was in vain. We're going to move forward. It's going to get better. And hopefully your children will have a different life than you have had.
And you could have said it no better. But this,
If you need me to
I
get something
love you, man.
else, just let me know.
It's like the movie. There's something about Mary, you know.
Yeah, I'm half Italian and half Sicilian. So yeah, people don't want to tick me off. And if I was in a situation that was racially charged and I saw something I didn't like, I'd be like a Karen, only the opposite. A Karen on the other side. So yeah.
I have no doubts there. With that being, I love you back. I love you back.
Okay.
Without further ado, how can people learn more about you? So, shout outs, links, whatever, just so people can patronize you and support you, because you definitely have a wealth of information, a wealth of talent, and just they need to follow you. So
okay. I'm on Instagram. I'm Sicilian.mama.actress, and I have my own website, mary-cavaliere.com. And then on the spiritual side, I have a YouTube channel. That's where I do spiritual teaching. And I started that because of Trump and everything that was going on in this country and everybody being so distraught. I was trying to bring comfort to people. So I do that as well. And so that's pretty much, I'm on Twitter, but I really am only on that for politics. So I just retweet a lot of stuff that other people are tweeting that I, feel in sync with. But so Instagram is the best place to find me.
Yeah, and she's very active on Instagram as well as YouTube. So
I try to be, not as much as I probably should be as an actor, but when I have a show to promote, that'll be a whole different story. So
understood. Well, listen, Mary, like I said, I appreciate your time. I know we are well over time. You got things to do.
that's okay.
Definitely wanted to say I appreciate you. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your craft and your talent, and just the sweetest person I know, man. Like I appreciate you.
You're very kind. You're very kind. And when COVID is over, let's have lunch.
That part,
Okay.
I wouldn't. Definitely. So again, folks, thank you for joining in, watching us have our conversation and sharing energy. This is Donnie B, Got the Beat. Obviously, we're live on the beat. Everybody stay masked up, stay blessed, stay humble. As Mary said, change is coming. Be encouraged. And that's all we got for that. All right. Everybody, peace out. Have a good day.
Donnie B.